Also some sort of sinister and worrying dimensions to Google, because they buy Earth Viewer, which is the application, and that is funded by the CIA.
This is the company that they buy that provides them with the ability to produce this.
That's right. And
greetings. I've been eager to create another video addressing map inaccuracies. I've tackled this topic before in the past, and it was sparked by a debate I witnessed a few years back, and that's what truly motivated me was the unwavering confidence that people have placed in Google Earth. It's a widely used tool, yes, that's true, but people believe that it's just absolutely infallible. That belief really surprised me. Many seemed unaware that it's just computer-generated graphics until you zoom in closely. In this video, I've compiled some fascinating clips, including one that's a bit of a comedy, so hang with me, but it's grounded in factual information, and these clips will illustrate my point. But before we dive into them, let's briefly discuss the path of the sun in the sky, which is tied to our longitude lines. So starting from the prime meridian, and on the other side of the North Pole is the international date line, the opposite of the prime meridian. So if you head west, for example, in the Western Hemisphere, everything is measured in degrees, minutes, and seconds. And that's true throughout Earth, but I said that as an example. So here's the important part that I want people to understand is the sun consistently moves 15 degrees in 1 hour. And that's what you witness when you're standing on Earth is you see the sun move 15 degrees in 1 hour no matter where you're at in the world. Okay, and within each 15 degree increment, you have 60 meridian lines or longitude lines that represent minutes. And in between those, you have 60 more lines that represent the seconds. That helps pinpoint a specific location as far as the longitude, as most people say. This all stems from the path of the sun. So regardless where you are, you always observe it move 15 degrees every hour. So the motion of the sun across the sky gives rise to the 24 time zones, because 15 degrees 24 times is 360 degrees. So I should also mention that latitude lines are measured in degrees with the equator as your 0 point. And then to the North Pole, the North Pole is at 90 degrees north latitude, and the South Pole is 90 degrees south latitude. And the line in between represents different latitudes. And so anyway, having said all that, let's get to it.
Sorry.
Hello.
Sorry to be late.
Not a problem.
I'm CJ Craig.
Of course you are. I'm Dr. John Fallow. This is Dr. Cynthia Sales and Professor Donald Huke.
Hugh?
Huke.
Okay. And you are the Organization of Cartographers for Social Equality.
Well, we're from the OCSE. We have many members.
How many?
4,300 dues-paying members.
What are the dues?
$20 a year for the newsletter.
Let's start.
Wait, I want to see this.
This is Josh Lyman.
Indeed you are.
Josh, this is Dr. Fallow, and
Hi.
who's Merry Men.
Yes.
Should we begin?
Yes. Plain and simple, we'd like President Bartlett to aggressively support legislation that would make it mandatory for every public school in America to teach geography using the Peters projection map instead of the traditional Mercator.
Give me $200 and it's done. Really?
No. Why are we changing maps?
Because, CJ, the Mercator projection has fostered European imperialist attitudes for centuries and created an ethnic bias against the Third World.
Really?
The German cartographer, Mercator, originally designed this map in 1569 as a navigational tool for European sailors.
The map enlarges areas at the poles to create straight lines of constant bearing or geographic direction.
So it makes it easier to cross an ocean.
But
Yes.
it distorts the relative size of nations and continents.
Are you saying the map is wrong?
Oh dear, yes. Look at Greenland.
Okay.
Now look at Africa.
Okay.
The two land masses appear to be roughly the same size.
Yes.
Would it blow your mind if I told you that Africa is in reality 14 times larger?
Yes?
Here we have Europe, drawn considerably larger than South America. When it's 6.9 million square miles, South America is almost double the size of Europe's 3.8 million.
Alaska, appears 3 times as large as Mexico, when Mexico is larger by 0.1 million square miles.
Germany appears in the middle of the map when it's in the northernmost quarter of the Earth.
Wait. Relative size is one thing, but you're telling me that Germany isn't where we think it is?
Nothing's where you think it is.
Where is it?
I'm glad you asked. The Peters projection.
It has fidelity of axis.
Fidelity of position.
East-west lines are parallel and intersect north-south axes at right angles.
What the hell is that?
It's where you've been living this whole time. Should we continue?
Uh-huh.
What all of this has to do with social equality.
No, I'm wondering where France really is.
Guys, we want to thank you very much for coming in.
Hang on, we're gonna finish this.
Okay.
What do maps have to do with social equality, you ask?
She asked.
Salvatore Natoli of the National Council for Social Studies argues, in our society, we unconsciously equate size with importance and even power.
I'm going to check in on Tobin.
Go.
These guys find Brigadoon on that map, you'll call me, right?
Probably not.
Okay.
When third world countries are misrepresented, they're likely to be valued less. When Mercator maps exaggerate the importance of Western civilization, when the top of the map is given to the Northern Hemisphere and the bottom is given to the Southern, then people will tend to adopt top and bottom attitudes.
But wait, where else could you put the Northern Hemisphere but on the top?
On the bottom.
How?
Like this.
Yeah, but you can't do that.
Why not?
Because it's freaking me out.
Most people probably assume that a good map is an objective and accurate portrayal of the world, not Jerry Broughton. So here's a splendid example of a map of propaganda, really. This is the Navy League map of the British Empire, published sometime in the 1920s. Much of the world coloured red. And this was typical of the way map making was sort of co-opted by political interests in the 19th, 20th centuries, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is seriously political geography in tooth and claw. I mean, again, it's using the Mercator projection, and it's really a way of celebrating the empire. There's no other reason for this map. It doesn't help you navigate. It's not about getting from A to B. It is about political power and authority.
And in the book, you've got one or two startling examples of maps as propaganda. There is, for instance, a Nazi map of Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's precisely to show that Czechoslovakia is somehow an enormous threat to Germany. So it's distorting the shape of Czechoslovakia, the way in which the artistic dimension shows this actually quite small country bearing down on Germany. And it's simply a way of disseminating a visual image which is completely bears no reality.
And mapmaking became, in the 20th century, on occasion, tremendously controversial. There's a book here by a man called Arno Peters, the Peters Atlas of the World, and he thought he'd come up with a better way of showing the world this perennial problem of how you show a globe on a flat plane. Why was this projection so controversial?
Well, this is interesting because it's about an equal area map. Arno Peters was a left-wing historian and geographer who believed that the Mercator projection was Eurocentric, that it basically showed particularly Europe over and above Southeast Asia and Africa, which were diminished in size. So he took a different kind of projection. That's all he did. Mercator used a particular kind of projection. Peters offers a different one, which is called an equal area projection, which as a result leaves you with these extraordinary images of particularly Africa and South America as these long, elongated like teardrops, very, very different to Mercator. So I think that what Peters put his finger on is this issue of partiality. Any map of the world is partial. It has a certain story to tell because we can never have an objective, consistent, real image of the Earth. We just can't do it. We can't square that circle.
All right, here's what looks like an objective image of the world. This is Google Earth, and it's a circular image, so it gets around the big problem of trying to portray the world on a flat surface. Now, you have a lot of reservations, don't you, about Google Earth? Yet, to many people, it's a wonderful application.
It is great technology, and that's what I first thought when I started doing the work on it. But I do now think that because of the way in which they have bought up so much of the data, which they fed into this geospatial application, is what they call it, they are monopolizing maps online. If you go online and you're using maps, you are probably using a Google map. And there's also some sort of sinister and worrying dimensions to Google because They buy EarthViewer, which is the application, and that is funded by the CIA.
This is the company that they buy that provides them with the ability to produce this.
That's right, and first came to prominence because it was a great way of visualizing bombing raids in the first Gulf War. And Google saw that and thought, we're interested in that.
I mean, that's interesting that the CIA government had a hand in funding it, but it's sinister. You say, why is it sinister?
Well, because we don't know how those applications were then subsequently used for military purposes. And I think Google at first struggled to work out where it was going to go. They were first using this application to sell real estate. And now they've worked out that what they can do is use it as part of their search capability, because we are searching now geographically. And that's why maps have become so important online today, because you search for something, you're searching geographically, not numerically or alphabetically. You're searching about where things are in the world. And that's why possession of this geospatial data is so incredibly important and profitable. This is about money.